men are free. But freedom brings the next problem. We have got to think like real black men. So being free is not sufficient. We must now think different. Oh yes. Oh my people, let's launch an attack. Let us think, let us act and live black. So when your black brothers go, help him up, don't you frown. Let your dollar support your color. And when you shake my hand, come, cross my thumb, because you're black. Yes, you're black. Oh, sister, you're black. Sister, you're black. Stay up, stay up. Along the wee colonies, producing goods for big puppies. So we must guard our dear pennies, lest they should all go overseas. Black men should go into business, run out white capitalists. Oh yes, let us read books by all black writers. For white children, stop the black mamas. Encourage your kids for me to study their history. Learn, black brother, of your rich culture. And don't you pay for them kids, please, white dollies, because they are black. Yes, you're black. Oh, sister, you're black. Sister, you're black. Stay up. Black men are fighting whites daily in defense of their dignity. But we must follow this trouble. It involves all black people in Angola and Africa, USA and Rhodesia. Oh yes, and we must value the things that we own. Native clothes, native foods and crops grow. Sis, don't spoil your sweet blackness with them white cosmetics. Leave your hair so comb it afro, you know. And don't you sell your dear bodies to white monkeys, because you are black. Yes, you are black. Oh, sister, you're black. Sister, you're black. Stay up, stay up. Black men are free. But freedom brings the next problem. We have got to think like real black men. So being free is not sufficient. We must now think different. Oh yes. Oh my people, let's launch an attack. Let us think, let us act and live black. So when your black brothers go, help him up, don't you frown. Let your dollar support your color. And when you shake my hand, come, cross my thumb, because your blood, oh sister, your blood, stay up, stay up. Longer we colonies, producing books for big puppies. So we must guard our dear pennies, lest they should all go overseas. Black men should go into business, run out white capitalists. Oh yes, let us read books by all black writers. For white children, stop the black mamas. Encourage your kids for me to study their history. Learn, black brother, of your rich culture. And don't you pay for them kids, please, white dollies, because they are blood. Yes, blood. Oh, sister, they are blood. Stay up. Black men are fighting whites daily in defense of their dignity. But we must follow this trouble where it involves all black people in Angola and Africa, USA and Rhodesia. Oh yes, and we must value the things that we own. Native clothes, native foods and crops grow. Sis, don't spoil your sweet blackness with them white cosmetics. Leave your hair so comb it afro, you know. And don't you sell your dear bodies to white monkeys, because you are black. Yes, you are black. Oh, sister, you are black. Sister, you are black. Stay up, stay up. Up names like Sambo and Nigga, African traits that have survived, let them shine brightly in our eyes, like Shango, Baptist and Kuku, Dele, Kaiso, Voodoo. Oh yes, our children are suffering daily. Let us not add to their misery by hitting them with pots, clouting them, calling them fools, making them kneel down on greater until noon. No more must they kneel, stop, make them stay up, because they are blood. Yes, they are blood. Oh, sister, they are blood. Sister, they are blood. Stay up, stay up.
to Rhodesia, go beyond to South Africa. You're pushing my back against the wall, I'm calling the tribes of Hannibal. I man decide to put on his boots and march to defend his roots. Hey, calling them Juju, calling them Zulu, shouting Ashanti, calling Watusi. In South Africa and Rhodesia, let go run like water. Prepare my brother for the bloody river. Just remember, brother, let the blood and water. Stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe. I know this fight won't be so easy, but you got to get rid of the enemy. If you don't get rid of the enemy shall get rid of thee. My people, you see, we have no choice, so Africans hear my voice. Hey, calling them Zulu, calling them Juju, shouting Ashanti, calling Watusi. In South Africa and Rhodesia, let go run like water. Prepare my brother for the bloody river. Just remember, brother, let the blood and water. Stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe. They talk that America supporting white South Africa, but if we have to walk voodoo, my people shouting you. Some the drums and some and the witch doctors to deal with those weird miracles. Hey, calling them Zulu, calling them Juju, shouting Ashanti, calling Watusi. In South Africa and Rhodesia, let go run like water. Prepare my brother for the bloody river. Just remember, brother, let the blood and water. Stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe. Steve Biko, who died in Soweto. To the freedom fighters, I declare, Africans' affair is my affair. Ian Smith and Buster got to go. The revolution says so. Hey, calling them to you, calling them to you, shouting Ashanti, calling Watusi. In South Africa and Rhodesia, let go run like water. Prepare my brother for the bloody river. Just remember, brother, blood thicker than water. Stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe.
Stay up, Zimbabwe. Stay up, Zimbabwe. Tell Voster that blood is thicker than water. And if you continue to kill black people, the blood will run like a river. Oi, oi. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. Brother Valentino, stay up, Zimbabwe. That's the kind of politics that I was born in. And that's the kind of politics I want to give back to the black man. Fear not. Stay up, Zimbabwe. Stay up, black man. Before that, the mighty chalk does. Launch an attack. Think black, buy black, walk black, talk black. I didn't invent it. It's there in song. Stay up, Zimbabwe. Africa affair is my affair because they're black and I'm black. And Mr. Voster, if you continue to oppress black people in South Africa, the blood will run like water. Come, Jacdio, and jail me for saying that. You see, these people, who black people have put the Lord over them, want to kill that spirit. David Hines is stuck in the 70s. WPA is stuck in the 70s. Ogunze is stuck in the 70s. Well, the 70s were bad days. Bad. You juke me, I juke you, I back. You pick up arms, I pick up arms back. That is what the 70s was about. Today, they make you all fear fight, fear struggle, fear revolution. Stay up, Zimbabwe. Stay up, Zimbabwe. Black man, black woman, stay up. Stay up. Because if you don't stay up, they're going to kick you down and keep you down. Good evening to you and welcome to Politics 101. We had a late show last night. Some of you didn't stay up. We had a long meeting and ended late, and so I started late. But we had a good hour in last night, and we talk. You see, here's the story. So many of us in the PPP, we are now big men, as you all would say in Guyana, big men and big women. People in the PPP, PNC, WPA, we were revolutionaries. We came of age in the 1970s, at the time when Bob Marley was saying, get up, stand up for your rights. It takes a revolution to make a solution. We came of age in the 70s and the 60s and the 80s. And those were times when you learned to fight, when you learned to stand up for your rights, when you decide that you are going to change your world. Small nations, Guyana and the Caribbean and so forth. But we decided that we are not going to live like slaves and we're not going back into the plantation. We took the example of the Maroons of Accompong in Jamaica, the Maroons of Baracara in Guyana, the Maroons in the bushes of Suriname, that we are not staying on the plantation, we're moving on. We were anti-imperialists. We said to the Americans, you may be big and strong, but we're not going to allow you to bully us. Strong as you are, and you will get your way eventually, but you'll have to get past us because we are revolutionaries. We were anti-imperialists. We were not yesterday and today and tomorrow anti-imperialists. We were anti-imperialists every day. We were saying our resources belong to us. We were saying our land belonged to us. And we are saying that fragile as our sovereignty is, we are still sovereign because we are human beings. The Caribbean is a zone of peace, where not just words. That statement represented a principle that went deep within our Caribbean belly. Clive Thomas and Walter Rodney and the academics of that time, they said we are a new world. They came up with a new world group in which they fashioned and shaped a vision for our Caribbean. The new world. The new world. Ralph Gonsalves declared the Caribbean a Caribbean civilization, not just a Caribbean region, but a civilization. That is, we are more than just a collection of people. We bring to the world something unique. Yes, we were anti-imperialists, but we were also Caribbeanists. The Caribbean for us was not a jokey joke. The Caribbean for us was and is a civilization. That we were going to grow together or die together. We knew that slavery was not slavery in Guyana alone or slavery of an individual. We knew that when Britain, when England talked about slavery, it was talking about slavery in the Caribbean, not just Guyana. The Caribbean was an idea and a civilization, and still is. Caribbean integration meant something. And that is why between 1958 and 1962, we attempted a Caribbean state in the form of the West Indies Federation, when 10 West Indian countries came together and formed one nation. Unfortunately for Guyana, the Jagan government did not take Guyana into the West Indies Federation. It argued that East Indians, who were a majority of Guyana, would become a minority in a West Indian nation. And it didn't take Guyana into the Federation, unfortunately. That was to lead to a second split in the PPP. The first split was Burnham leaving, and the second split was Guyana, Sidney King, Martin Carter, Rory Westmus, and others leaving and saying, we want Guyana to be part of the Caribbean Federation. And since the PPP was not prepared to take Guyana into the Federation for racial reasons, they left the PPP. There were two splits in the PPP. We are Caribbean people. We have always been Caribbean people. We will always be Caribbean people. Anti-imperialism, Caribbean integration, and black power. We were revolutionaries, we were anti-imperialists, we were Caribbean integrationists, but we were also black. Black power was an important plank of the progressive outlook. Buy black, live black, raise your black culture up. That is the progressive politics that I was born into and cut my teeth, my political teeth on. Anti-imperialism, Caribbean integration, black power, working class upliftment, the upliftment of the poor, the upliftment of the poor and the powerless, making ourselves available to the poor so that the poor can lift itself. The praxis of the revolutionary, working class upliftment, Caribbean integration, black power, and anti-imperialism. That's the progressive politics from which I come, and I'm not giving it up for nothing. If you have a politics of the 70s, and when the 80s come, you abandon the politics of the 70s because it's the 80s, you were never, ever true to anything that you said. Principles are constant. You adopt your principles to the changing times. You all hear me out? Principles are constant. Change is inevitable. And you adopt your principles to the changing times, not the other way around. You don't change your principles as the decade changes. Today, the PPP has abandoned working class upliftment. It's no longer part of their constitution. They have abandoned it. You know, people call them loosely Marxist, Leninist, and so on. I don't want to use those terms. I'm using working class liberation. The PPP has abandoned working class liberation. It's no longer part of their constitution. They were never black powerists. They never believed black people were more than tokens. They were not into black power. They feared black power. The PPP is no longer anti-imperialist. They're no longer prepared to say to large countries, find a way to carry out your business without crushing small countries. Give small countries a chance to breathe. Allow us to enjoy our wealth. They're no longer anti-imperialists. The PPP was never into Caribbean integration. As I said, they didn't take Guyana into the West Indies Federation. And they've played games. At one time, the PPP said that CARICOM is a black man club. As usual, you all are wondering where I'm going tonight. Where I'm going tonight. So our government is not a progressive government. Our government is not, and by progressive here is what I mean. I mean that we belong to a politics that look on the brighter side, look on the other side. An anti-slavery politics, anti-colonial politics, anti-domination politics. We are progressives. We are revolutionaries because we do not believe in cosmetic changes. We believe in fundamental change. That's what we mean when we say we are progressives and we are revolutionaries. And we continue to be progressives and revolutionaries. And I have friends in the PPP. David, you must tone down the race thing. They're asking me to stop being a revolutionary. Because when I tone down the race, I'm taking away an important plank of my political evolution. Another said, David, forget about that old anti-capitalist thing. The world has moved on. Teach black people to be hustlers, because hustling is where the world is. And I refuse to. There are others who tell me, David, why are you fighting up with that Caribbean thing? We get oil now, and the oil money must be for we Guyanese, not for any Caribbean. Well, yeah, the oil money must be for we Guyanese. But when you say we Guyanese, who are you talking about? Who are you talking about? When 10%, 90% of the wealth of this country goes to the East Indian elite, the Portuguese elite, and the Chinese elite, you're telling me that I must abandon a Caribbean to embrace that? Where is the black man in the matrix of wealth in this country? Black people, maybe just about 10% of the wealth the black elites have access to. And you are telling me I must not be Caribbean. I must talk about the wealth being a Guyanese wealth. I've been telling people recently. The other night I was at a function, All Year's Night function. And the usual thing, you get into politics. And some of my friends were telling me, David, what we need is a black Muhammad. Because black people are now ready to elect a black businessman. And what we need are black Muhammads. And I said to them, there can never be a black Muhammad. Because the Muhammads of this world, in the eyes of black people, are not black. If a black man were accused of smuggling gold and them things that they accuse Muhammad of, them same black people who vote for Muhammad will cuss me nasty. Man, you're making black people shame. Or you're going to smuggle gold. Or you're going to this. Or they don't want that for us. Understand. When they're talking about a Muhammad, they see that in racial terms. They're not talking about a Muhammad black. So there can never be a black Muhammad in the eyes of black people. And the gas station owner in the village was there, he was one who was telling me that. And I turned to him and asked him, I said, what black people just call you in this village? You get plenty money. He shake here. I said, you know what they call you? The gas station owner. They don't call you Muhammad, they don't call you a rich man. Because black people do not see wealth and richness in this country in black terms. They see it as Indian and Portuguese and Chinese. Get that in our heads. And there is a reason for that. Because our relationship to wealth in the black community is different from other communities. It's not that black people don't want rich people, but our culture is not a culture of economic domination. It's not the kind of capitalist doggy-dog thing. We see wealth in collective terms. Kwanzaa is just over. So the way black people see Muhammad and wealth, many of us are incensed that young black people could be glorifying a man who's accused of robbing the country and so on. You know, we will know whether it's true or not if and when there's a trial, but at least he's accused of it. And a lot of us black people are saying, look, these young black people defending a man who's accused of them things. And they won't defend a black man if he was accused of the same thing. But they're defending an Indian man who's accused of them things. And the answer is simpler, but not so simple. They've accepted that the Indian elite, the Portuguese elite, have always camped their way through the system. Black people figure that out. And that black people have never had the opportunity to scam their way through the system. We were civil servants. We have no choice. The government has take out taxes from we money before they pay we money. Public servants, government workers have to pay taxes by law. They can't scam the system. And so black people have come to figure out that black people can't scam the system to get rich. But they've watched Portuguese elite and Chinese elite and East Indian elites scam the system. So when Muhammad is accused of scamping the system, black people don't see much wrong. All they're saying is that what's new? So I was telling my comrades that you're all talking about a black Muhammad. Let any black man be accused of scamping the system like Muhammad. Black people will bury them. Indian people will bury them. There's a way in which scamping the system has become normative for some elites in this country. I'm talking the talk tonight, but I always talk the talk. People like Ravi Dev want black people to be scams, but not elite scams. They want black people to be scammed for $3 million so that black people will not condemn the scampishness of the $300 billion. David, teach black people about capitalism. I must teach black people to be scams. But they want me to teach black people to be scammed for $2 million and $3 million. While they are scams for 300 billion and 400 billion. That's the game they're playing in Guyana. So they don't want people like me to talk black. They don't want people like me to teach you all black people to recognize your limitations in formal system. And recognize how the formal system is systemically geared to keep you down. And you glorify $3 million and $4 million and $5 million while they're squeezing your know what for 500 billion every day. And I ain't gonna allow them. If you all want to follow them with a scampishness, and you all think that you all can scam the system, go on. But I'm not teaching you all to do it. The Guyana economic system has become a rogue system, a scampish system. And in order to be rich in Guyana, mean you get plenty money, you got to be a scamp. Azadin point out that Susan Rodriguez, a junior minister, own a whole set of property, not in Guyana, but outside of Guyana. Susan said he lied. She provide papers to show that he lied on she. And I view that quarrel differently, brothers and sisters. I hear a lot of y'all saying, Azadin right, they expose them. And I saying, Azadin right, they expose them too. I saying that too. But I'm also saying that Azadin is in a unique position to expose them. Because as I said last night, he knows where the dead bodies are. And I'm going to say this, and I don't give a damn. Azadin is not doing Guyana a favor by exposing PPP corruption. He's not doing Guyana a favor. He's doing himself a favor. He's not doing Guyana a favor. I am glad he's exposing their corruption. Because to we black people, when he said it's believable, and we know why it's believable. But he's not doing Guyana a favor. He's doing himself a favor by exposing them. I want Azadin to expose them every single day. It is time. It is time. It is time one of their own, and he's one of them. One of their own expose them. This Guyanese, this African is taking that position. That he's one of their own. And when he's exposing them, he's correct to expose them because he's one of them. All praises. But we want to get it right. We want to get it right. They've been playing with the black mind in this country for the last 30, 40 years. They've been playing with the black mind. And the reason they've been playing with the black mind is so that the black man can become numb and messed up upstairs here so that he can justify corruption. Brother called me up today. He said, Dr. Hines, answer this to me. How some of your black, this is an Indian brother. He said, how some of your black people condoning Mohammed corruption and condemning PPP corruption. He said, how some of your black people condoning Mohammed corruption and condemning PPP corruption. And I laughed. And I said, brother, you don't understand the black mind. The black mind, like the human mind, is not always straightforward. Sometimes the black mind, like the human mind, operates contradictory. And there's some contradiction going on among black people today. Because the man is correct, the alleged corruption of Mohammed is being defended by some young black people. But they're cussing the alleged corruption of the PPP. You see, it's contradictory, but it's also not contradictory. The PPP is the state. They represent the state, they control the state. And so what black people are doing is holding them to a higher standard. And they're making a distinction between the alleged corruption of Mohammed as maybe personal, But the corruption of the PPP is systemic corruption. That's what's going on there. The brother said, thank you, Dr. Hines, but I'm still not convinced. You see, we're not talking certain things in this country. We're not talking certain things in this country. The elite in this country could be very hypocritical. And that was a man of the elite that called me today. He sees the so-called hypocrisy of the working people. The working people, Africans, the young Africans. But there's also the hypocrisy of the elite. I'm a revolutionary. On any given day, on any given hour of the day, the United States going into Venezuela and arresting its leader and taking him away, I'm opposed to that. I'm opposed to it on any given day. I'm opposed to it. I spent the last 2 nights theorizing, explaining, not giving my view. I'm opposed to what the Americans have done. But when the Americans came into Guyana in 2020 and deposed Granger, I was opposed to it. But some people who now oppose to the Americans deposing Maduro did not speak up when they deposed Granger. You all hear me? Let's ask a couple of minutes where we're going with this tonight. Well, you all see where we're going. Hypocrisy. The American government deposed Granger. They sanctioned members of Granger government before the elections were over. They treated Granger government worse than Maduro government. In Venezuela, they allowed the elections to finish. And they said Maduro thieved the election and they sanctioned it. In Guyana, they didn't allow them the election to finish. They sanctioned Granger people, in effect declaring the PPP the winner. Where was civil society in Guyana? Where was civil society? They didn't have to kidnap Granger and carry away to America. They deposed him before he could be elected or could be declared. Will you hear me tonight? You see, that's why the PPP don't want people like me around. Because all you send us to school to figure out some things that you all don't have the time to figure out for yourself. Because I think you all can figure out for yourself if you all have the time. Meaning what? I don't got to wake up in the morning and go and sell in the market. I don't have to wake up in the morning and go and work in a ministry. I don't have to wake up in the morning and go and wash people's clothes as a maid. I don't have to wake up in the morning and go and dig trenches and clean dirty trenches. I don't have to do that. Thanks for your sacrifices. I wake up in the morning and I think. I try to make sense of my country and the world. I read books when I get the chance. I think about what I will say tonight. That's what I wake up and I do in the morning. Meaning that people like myself have the time to think through these things. You all would like to think it through, but you all don't have the time because you all got to get going in the morning. You all got to go and sell in the morning. You all got to get them picnic ready. You all got to cook food. You all got to... And the point I'm making here is what the Americans have done in Venezuela, they did in Guyana in 2020. And they did it in a more brutal way. They themselves said that the PPP government was installed. They deposed Granger and they installed the PPP. So when my civil society friends are telling me to come and picket the ousting of Maduro and regime change in Venezuela, I said to them, if you all come out and pick it, when they did regime change in 2020 in Guyana and deposed Granger, I would be out there with you all. Because what you all fighting up out there, I believe the Americans wrong. You all are wrong. The Americans wrong to go and take the man and carry the man away out to your own sovereign country. But the Americans were equally and more wrong when they deposed David Granger in 2020 and installed the PPP. Right is right. That's why they can't like people like me. We're talking the truth, and that the truth shall set us free. The truth shall set us free. Don't tell me the Americans wrong for what they do to Maduro, and you did not see it when they did Granger worse. Where were you? Part of it is some of them, Granger is a black man, you know. Some of these same civil society people will tell you, oh, the Americans deposed Jagan in 1964. Well, yes, he did. The Americans did. In the context of the Cold War, they didn't want Jagan, and they deposed Jagan in 1964. And a lot of so-called civil society people will say that openly. But they will not say openly that the Americans deposed Granger in 2020 because Granger didn't take a certain line on certain issues. What is the difference between deposing Granger and deposing Jagan? Granger black. That's the difference. Granger from the PNC. Well, the PNC is a black party. Everybody says openly the Americans deposed Jagan. But very few of them will say openly the Americans deposed Granger. And in their own words, installed the PPP. If you couldn't raise your voice when Granger was deposed by external forces in pursuit of their interest, don't call me for run behind you for picket for Maduro. Don't call me. Don't call me. The ousting of Granger was in pursuit of American interests. 30 barrels of oil in Guyana. Exxon is here. It's American business to determine who governs in Guyana. And they decide that one competitor enchanting the chant that they want to hear, and the other competitor chanting the chant they want to hear. And they make their choice. They sanctioned Granger people before the election done. You others forget that. You others forget that. And Jerry Govaya said, the Americans call you and tell you the next thing they were going to do, they were going to take away the property of Granger people, family in America. Now me said so. Jerry Govaya says so. Because he said he was the man the Americans were talking to. And they said if Granger didn't move, they were going after Granger family in New York and America. And the word is that Granger said he had had enough and he threw in the towel. Black people are scussy for throwing in the towel. Understandably so. But you all gotta understand the brother throwing the towel not because he was soft, was because some bigger powers were at play. America's always intervened in Guyana. Don't fool yourself. 1953, they landed troops here. The British, on the origin of the Americans, landed troops. 1953, overthrow the Jagan Burnham Sidney King government. The Americans came back in the 60s, overthrow and depose Jagan. They came back in 1992 and said to the PNC, you all have had enough, you all mess up enough, it's time. And they came up with the Carter formula. Jimmy Carter came. I was in support of Jimmy Carter, don't get me wrong. And I had to go. And they came back in 2020. Americans don't go no way. But when people talk in the story, they must talk the truth. Don't tell me about Maduro. When what has happened to Maduro happened right there and you all shut your all mouth because it was a black man. I'm talking in black. And I want you all black people to start getting some sense. Because sometimes you all just step on stupidness. And don't understand what they're doing to all in this country. Maduro. If you're going to be consistent, be consistent. If you're going to be a Caribbean progressive, you must be anti-imperialist. You must be anti-racist. You must be pro-Caribbean integration. And you must be for the upliftment of the poor. You can't shack out racial injustice and still call yourself a progressive. Is who saying, David, I agree with you for once tonight. Lad. Oh God, is who? My brother, the teacher doesn't always say everything up front. The wise teacher wait until the evidence is in. Thank you, my brother, for agreeing with me tonight. Thanks. Yes. You see, people want to call themselves progressive. And when you tell them that black people are being given the short end of the stick, the wealth is not being distributed equally to black people and Amerindian people, they don't want to talk about that, but they want to say they're progressive. How the hell you can be selectively progressive? If you're progressive right down the line. They didn't get to the point where they kidnapped Granger because they hammer Granger to give in and they installed the PPP. So when the PPP takes the position it has taken on Venezuela, it is because it's an installed regime. If the Americans install me or install you, and then the Americans do something naughty, I am muzzled, you are muzzled. The mouth is muzzled by the food it eats, says Martin Carter. What do you expect the PPP to do? I hear somebody on the picket line today said Jagan is turning in his grave. Jagan been turning in his grave long before he dead, he started turning in his grave. Because the PPP change under Jagan, the rot in the PPP, to use a term by Quayana from the 1960s, the rot in the PPP started while Jagan was alive. It means that the PPP used Marxist and progressive rhetoric as a mask for a dirty, divisive politics. And then PPP people turned to me and said, David, what happened to the Marxism? And I just asked them, what happened to you all Marxism? If you all can abandon Marxism in order to achieve racial domination for your supporters, I am prepared. I am prepared to silence my Marxism to defend black people against your domination. So I must start Marxism, and new government take Marxism out of your constitution in order to advance the economic domination of other races, black people, Amerindian people, etc. And you want me to start Marxism? Some of our own supporters, WPA supporters, some friends of mine, are still stuck in that Marxist thing. The WPA is Marxist. WPA is multiracial. And the WPA can only mustn't fight for one race. If one race is hammered, if one race is being hammered, you'll fight for 10 races? What kind of cock and bull story is that? If one race is hammered, you fight for the one race. If two races are hammered, you fight for two races. Politics is a chat. My multiracialism is an enduring multiracialism. My multiracialism is a multiracialism that is premised on racial equality and racial equity. Don't tell me you're multiracial when you believe in racial domination. How the hell you can be multiracial and believe in racial domination? The one, my old friend Freddie Kissoon, multiracial politics. Shut up, Freddie. So damn hypocritical. You first of all must believe in racial equality and racial equity. Then you begin to talk about multiracialism. We didn't start with racial equity. Black people came out to the plantation with nothing. White people come out to the plantation with everything. Indian people and Chinese and Portuguese people come and they get something. So we started in 1838 with white people with everything, black people with nothing, and our brothers and sisters who came as indentured laborers with a little something. Some people got hopes and dreams. Says Bob Marley. Some people get everything, says Bob Marley. And if you start the race with one in front and one behind, and the next one, Amerindian black people with nothing, far behind, unless you put steroids in black people and Amerindian people, they're not going to catch up even with the Chinese and the Indians and the Portuguese. Much more will catch up with white people. And since we never give them steroids, we are here in 2026 with them still behind. And the state in Guyana does not acknowledge that. They do not acknowledge it. And they implement policies every day to lengthen that gap between the races, among the races. At least America in the 1960s implemented something called affirmative action, in which they argued that because people are economically dispossessed, there must be policies to make them catch up. That is what affirmative action was about. And you know who were the first beneficiaries of affirmative action? Not black people in America. It was white women, because women were disadvantaged. And affirmative action was not, they didn't say about black people. They said all disadvantaged people. And so it included white people, white women, it included black people, Native Indians, etc., etc. And the first set of people to benefit from affirmative action in America were white women. And then black people benefited a little until the Supreme Court started to roll back affirmative. But at least America recognized it. A brown government in Guyana, a non-white government in Guyana, in the form of the PPP, has never acknowledged that Amerindian people and black people were systematically left behind, and you must implement policies to bring them up. When David Hines and Vincent Alexander and Takuma and others, Eric Phillips and others say, man, you can't do that. They say we are racist. Yes, sister, it was white people, white women, sorry, who were the first beneficiaries of affirmative action in America. Sometimes we have to teach the facts, And the PPP would argue that it has implemented affirmative action in Guyana. And as I asked an old PPP man, I said, well, if I were to agree with you, then I will have to say that the beneficiaries of affirmative action are the Indian rich, the Portuguese rich, and the Chinese rich. Because if you implement affirmative action, the only people I see advancing in the society economically and so forth is that group. The Indian elites, the Indian rich, the Portuguese rich, the Chinese rich. You get a couple of black rich people, but they're neither here nor there. Black skins and white masks. They're afraid to give donations to a black party or a black organization. They go, duck and eat forget. So, sisters and brothers, you know this progressive politics. The people in so-called civil society. And let me make a distinction here. I think the Guyana Human Rights Association, we have to give them kudos. They have been consistent. Human Rights Association, it's headed by Portuguese and white people and middle class Indians and so on. But they have been consistent over the years. They have come down against racial inequality. They have come down against class inequality. They have come down against authoritarianism. They have come down against rigged election under PNC and under the PPP. They have been consistent. And I think we have to give them some kudos. But most of the other civil society people, they're selective. They rail against Exxon when Exxon is thieving where we are. But they're not railing against the PPP for the little money that's coming into the NRF, taking it and giving it to the Indian and Portuguese elite. They're not railing against them for that. You think I'm in favor of Exxon taking away BI? No, I'm against it. But I'm not making that my number one priority. When other people are making that their number one priority and neglecting the fact that they're not distributing the little that we are getting equitably. They overthrow Granger. They depose Granger. And now they depose Maduro. You want me to go up on the road and pick it with you? Now you give me a chance. Give me a chance. But that's the hypocrisy of the elites in this country. That's the hypocrisy of the elites in this country. As I said, in this scenario with the Americans and Venezuela, there are no guarantees for Guyana. And I must be a fool to say I go in and picket America. Because of what they do to Maduro. When Maduro wants Guyana land. When Maduro didn't give a heck about Guyana. As I said, America's been an hegemon from the time it became a superpower. It's not new. And I'm saying that we, small countries, ain't gonna stop America. And we got to get sense. We got to grow up. We got to grow up. There was a time when our voices, our collective voices, the Caribbean people, the African people, the group of 77, Burnham was active, and the PNC were active in the group of 77. We had a big voice in the United Nations. We had an underlying movement, and we brought together the voices of small countries, and we spoke back to America. Those days are gone. And I'm not going to use my little breath to holler at America when I can't stop America. I'm going to join my voices with other progressive voices around the world to say, America, you're wrong. Morally, you're wrong. Politically, you're wrong. But I'm using my energy to holler at America. America will... What? Guyana, Trinidad, St. Lucia. Yes, we must take a stand. We must take a stand. But we must be sensible. We ain't stopping America. What we can stop is Venezuela taking away we land. And we can, let me rephrase that. What we have more legitimacy when we speak on is to speak against Venezuela land grab. And at the end of the day, when America and Venezuela are fighting, we have to ask ourselves this: how can we survive the fight? And we ain't going to survive the fight by taking America's side or taking Venezuela's side. We're going to be surviving by being smart. And I don't think our government is being smart. Our government is being pro-American. And you can follow them up to a certain point. To say, yes, America is there. If Venezuela knock me, most likely America will knock them back. The fact that Exxon is here, they're not going to bomb the oil field so easily. Yeah, I can understand the government reasoning to a certain point. But if America has to make a choice between its interest and Guyana's interest, it is going to choose American interests. America will defend Guyana when Guyana's interests and American interests converge. And I'm saying to some extent our interests converge. We got the oil field, America company, they're in the oil field, so we converge. But when it doesn't converge, America go. Venezuela get 300 and something billion barrel oil, the Guyana get 30 billion. The potential wealth for American capitalists is higher in Venezuela than Guyana. Venezuela oil is easy to get out of there. They already have an oil infrastructure. They already have an oil infrastructure. It's easy to extract the oil. We just start thinking, they got bill kind of thing to get the oil. The only advantage we get over them is that we are a little sweet. They call it sweet oil. But in economic sense, prioritizing Venezuelan oil over Guyana oil makes sense for America. So there's no guarantee that America won't lose 3 foot down the road. So I'm saying, yes, our interests converge, but we have to think beyond this moment when our interests no longer converge. If Exxon getting more buck for its dollar in Venezuela, pack up from Guyana and Golang, but the business in Venezuela, left the exports. I'm saying I understand the PPP stands to a certain point. Yes, our interests converge, and so we got to lean more to the Americans than the Venezuelans. And of course, there's no guarantee in Venezuela. Machado or the lady who take over there now, over here, the thing, Guyana map, she shot. All of them are pro grabbing Guyana territory. So you lean a little bit more to the Americans. But you have to think it through. And the PPP government certainly doesn't have the capacity to do that. And even if it has the capacity in some quarters, it doesn't have the will to do that. And so, sisters and brothers, here's the lesson tonight. Don't let it fool you all and get you all to give some sympathy to Maduro and Venezuela, no, big country taking advantage from little country and so on. When the big country was taking advantage on the government of Guyana in 2020, overthrowing Granger, where were the civil society that is now jumping to Maduro's defense? Granger was a little black boy. He did not deserve to be protected and defended. I will depend on him. But we've always done good by ourselves. When you all black people start getting some backbone, and understanding what is what. I'll try to get Vincent tomorrow night. Because GCOM, which is part of the overthrowing, things are happening over there as normally is the case. And Vincent Alexander is a man. So I'm going to try to get Vincent. I'm not sure if I'm going to get him. I'm trying to get him tomorrow night so he can come here and help us understand what's going on over there. We are in serious times. In these times, we must stay up. As Brother Valentino said, stay up, Zimbabwe. Blood thicker than water.
to Rhodesia, woe be unto South Africa. You're pushing my back against the wall, I'm calling the tribes of cannibal. I man decide to put on his boots and march to defend his roots. Hey, calling them Juju, calling them Zulu, shouting Ashanti, calling what to see in South Africa and Rhodesia. Let go run like water. Prepare my brother for the bloody river. Just remember, brother, bloody God and water. Stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe.